I've uncovered something that completely slipped past the casual moviegoer. For years, major Hollywood studios haven't been selling us cinematic art. They've been shoving prepackaged, trend-driven agendas down our throats. As a film analyst who has dissected script architecture and studio economics for over a decade, I don't look at these blockbusters like a regular viewer. I look at them like a surgeon dissecting a flawed narrative on the operating table. To understand how audiences are being manipulated, you have to look at modern production toolkits. Studios are relying heavily on algorithmic storytelling, a corporate framework where character arcs are dictated by focus group metrics rather than natural narrative progression. When thematic lectures replace genuine character development, the cinematic illusion breaks and suspension of disbelief collapses completely. Look at the numbers to see how this plays out in real time. Marvel's Thor, Love and Thunder ran on a massive $250 million budget. While it grossed $760 million worldwide, audience retention plunged, dragging its IMDb score down to a weak 6.2. In an attempt to elevate side characters and hand Mjolnir over to Natalie Portman's Jane Foster, the writers completely deconstructed the lead.
That's negative. Very negative.
From a tragic, battle-hardened god into a bumbling, infantile clown. The damage was so obvious that Chris Hemsworth himself broke the unwritten Hollywood rule of blind loyalty. In candid interviews with GQ and Vanity Fair, Hemsworth confessed that director Taika Waititi got lost in improvisational nonsense, turning the character into a flat parody. Hemsworth admitted he was cringing at his own performance, revealing that even his son's 8-year-old friends mocked the film's forced humor. He walked away from the franchise, refusing to put on the armor again until the studio agreed to completely rewrite his character arc and restore his narrative dignity in Doomsday. And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Son of a bitch, you're still alive.
Next up in this breakdown of studio overreach is Sony's total train wreck, Madam Web, starring Dakota Johnson. The studio marketed this feature as a high-octane, female-led action thriller, hoping to tap into modern audience trends. Instead, it delivered one of the most embarrassing box office catastrophes in recent superhero history. With an estimated production and marketing cost exceeding $100 million, the film barely clawed back $100 million globally, resulting in a staggering net loss for the studio and permanently killing off any plans for a franchise spin-off. Rather than running PR damage control, Dakota Johnson took a sledgehammer to the project during her press tour. In a remarkably blunt interview with Bustle, Johnson laid bare the toxic realities of modern greenlighting processes. She explicitly stated that executive committees and algorithm-driven formulas are destroying creative storytelling. You cannot make art based on numbers and algorithms, Johnson argued, pointing out that moviegoers are far too intelligent to fall for sanitized, corporate-mandated templates. She didn't stop there. Johnson openly mocked the movie on late-night talk shows, admitted on SNL that the script felt like it was generated by broken AI software, and even confessed she hadn't bothered to watch the final cut herself. It highlights a glaring double standard in modern Hollywood. Why do actors only call out these hollow narratives after cashing their multi-million-dollar paychecks? This trend of corporate failure extends far beyond comic book adaptations. Kristen Stewart experienced the exact same breakdown during the 2019 reboot of Charlie's Angels. Directed by Elizabeth Banks, the movie opened with heavy-handed dialogue aimed at pushing a specific message rather than building organic tension. It flopped hard, gathering a miserable $73 million worldwide against its production costs. In an interview with Variety, Stewart confessed she outright hated filming it, admitting that forced attempts to modernize a classic ended up making the entire production a laughingstock compared to the early 2000s original. If you think those examples were bad, John Boyega's fallout with Disney over the Star Wars sequel trilogy takes corporate bait-and-switch tactics to a whole new level. When Lucasfilm launched The Force Awakens in 2015, they placed Boyega's character, Finn, front and center in the marketing campaign, holding a lightsaber and heavily implying he would be the new generation's hero. The film shattered records with a $2.07 billion global box office, but as the trilogy progressed, Finn was systematically demoted to a background sidekick whose main dialogue consisted of screaming the lead character's name across CGI battlefields. Boyega didn't hold back his frustration. In a fiery interview with GQ UK, he called out Disney executives for superficial marketing practices. He openly stated that studio bosses shouldn't market a diverse character as a major selling point if they intend to shove them to the narrative margins as soon as the cameras roll. Boyega pointed out how white co-stars like Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver were given nuanced, emotionally complex story arcs, while minority characters were treated like check marks on an executive spreadsheet to satisfy PR metrics. Finally, we look at Kumail Nanjiani's experience with Marvel's Eternals. Marvel hyped the film as an Oscar-caliber masterpiece directed by Chloe Zhao. Nanjiani spent a full year on an intense physical transformation to play Kingo. However, the film fell flat with critics, earning a rotten 47% score on Rotten Tomatoes and underperforming at the box office with just $402 million worldwide. Nanjiani later revealed on the Armchair Expert podcast that the massive divide between corporate hype and critical reality caused him severe psychological trauma, forcing him into long-term therapy. When studios prioritize marketing slogans over basic narrative mechanics, the entire project collapses under its own weight. What do you think about actors calling out their own films? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, leave a like, and subscribe for more deep dive analyses.